I think this initiative is commendable, given the fact that small and medium enterprises are the backbone of the economy. We've been saying this for years and years. And a few weeks ago, the BOJ had its quarterly briefing, and the governor did make mention of the fact that the banks haven't taken up the signal. But you guys have been first out of the blocks. No doubt about that. My question is basically this. I know you can't make the move right now, one thing at a time, but do you envision a time whereby you can probably fund startups and micro? And I'll say this why, and I've said it for years. I mean, we would never in Jamaica produce a Steve Jobs or anyone like that, a Zuckerberg or a Bezos, because we don't have the faith. But if you look at some of the great companies of the world today, how they started, okay, you can go venture, but is the time coming whereby commercial banks can look at these startups and say, look, we're going to take a punt. We know the rest of it, but we do know that some of these businesses can be transformational. What are your thoughts on that?
No, there's different stages of types of funding and stages for funding. Traditional commercial banks, I don't believe
First you have to tell me where you
will or should be playing in the venture capital space. On the other hand, we have a capital markets business that has equity funds, unit trusts, and I know there's a lot of work, and DBJ is working on it. I also personally, and I think NCB as well, formally are members of Angel Investing Network, so I'm very familiar with what's being done there. And I think as that ecosystem evolves, there'll be opportunities. On the other hand, you listen to a lot of the stories. There's a lot of stories of great venture capital, but then you talk about like a Steve Jobs. There was no venture capital when he started. It was friends and family, beg and borrow.
Bootstrapping it. Yeah.
Bootstrapping. I think it's always going to, startups are always going to be high risk, and yeah, there will always be, and I believe Jamaicans have that entrepreneurial drive to take those kinds of risks. There will be plenty that fail, as they do in every country, but we need to build that ecosystem. And then it's venture capital, and then the lending comes in. To deliver well to the micro sector, you need a lot of data, because you can't be personally adjudicating every loan. You just have to say, in these data sets, if someone looks like this, your probability of default is low. And we, if anyone, have a lot of data. So as we pull that together, I think should be able to move down. And it should be, I believe it's something we can leverage to just make the decision-making process quicker as well, because we cannot treat, if we're going to treat a small business loan the same way we would a corporate loan, we will lose money providing it, because we'll spend forever adjudicating it, and it will take forever for a small business.
Just following, that's a good point, Bruce, but just following that, say for instance you've got Miss Mary, she sells 60 grand worth of Aki a week in the market, right? She wants to expand. She wants to probably open up a store in Montego Bay. She's got one in Coronation Market. So she has ambitions to probably sell Aki in, as I said, Mo Bay, a market down there. Is it a case that NCB can go in, speak to Miss Mary, say, okay, we can do something here. We can probably look to see if we can, we can give you a loan, or we can do something so you can expand and grow your business. So she has 2 portals, one in Mo Bay, one in Kingston. Is that something you can actively do? You think you guys can do that? Look into the business, hold the hands of the small, medium enterprise operator. How do you demystify that process? How do you get them so that they willingly can engage with you? Because they think, oh, the bank, I need this paperwork, I need this, it's difficult to start a bank account, all the rest of it. But there's got to be a way in which you can demystify it and meet them on their terms, or meet them on their ground, whereby you can build a relationship and foster greater SMEs. And bring in that, and also there's a component there where you can bring in the micro elements as well.
I think the 2 sides to get to form access to finance, and that is the product and the entrepreneur, him or herself.
Yeah.
The preparedness and the readiness of the entrepreneur and the appropriateness of the product. When you're going down to a micro business kind of level, you find, and the large majority of entrepreneurs in Jamaica are micro business. By far, 80% thereabout. You find that, and I began to speak to Bruce about this. I mean, for NCB to appropriately and confidently play in the micro sector, or even the smaller of the smaller side of small business, I think it's important for us to build out and continue to foster the relationship with entities like a JDBC that does the capacity building and work on the ground. Because it's unfair to expect the bank to have that kind of risk appetite, one, and also capital, intellectual capital, to be able to understand and go to, because the amount of resources it takes to adjudicate a micro, it's probably the same amount of resources that it takes to adjudicate a small and medium. So I would advocate for the strengthening of our ecosystem partnerships with ourselves, JDDC, JDA, SBAJ, and SME Alliance, and so on, such that we can appropriately serve the ecosystem that we need to serve.
But one of the things, though, is you want to be able to build your customer base. If you're able to do this on a level, you can, that client, they're going to be grateful, and they're going to stay with you for decades. I'll give you an example. In the UK, there's a building society called the Halifax. I don't know if you know it, right? When I left university, I was supposed to go and do law. I always wanted to do journalism, always. And my father said, what are you talking about, journalism, right? But I went to do that. He said, okay, well, look, you're on your own. You come back from holiday, you got to go. So I went to the Halifax for a loan, unsecured, everything. At that time, they lent me £15,000, right, get started. Years later, I went back. The guy's hair had turned silver by then. And there's a lesson I'll never forget. When I said to me, you gave me a loan when I was 2020, I think, 2021. And he said, yeah. And I said, yeah, but you got a degree, you're going to buy a house, you're going to buy a car, and you're here with us today. That's banking. So you're here with us. I'll never forget it. He said, you're here with us today. Right? Because I stayed, because I never forgot. He gave me that chance. He gave me that. I didn't have anything. I was starting out. And the same thing with businesses too. They tell their relatives, their friends, they build their businesses, they may start another business, and they will stay with you. There's the retention of that client that you really want to have, really, and that connective tissue that keeps that client bound. It's a really important thing you really need to look into.
NCB Jamaica, and what's our strategy? We've got kind of a four-pronged strategy. And number one is building primary customer relations. Exactly for that reason. So then you sit back and say, what is important for a primary customer relation? You've got to be convenient, you've got to be safe, you've got to, your payments need to work, because that's typically where you're doing the main transacting. You need to be able to access credit, you need to be able to do all of these things. And if we can do that well, and given our scale, breadth geographically, and our breadth product-wise, if we're executing how we should, we'll do it better than anyone else, to grow those primary relations, because once we have that primary relationship, second pillar is don't product sell, but focus on understanding needs. Once we've got the product relationship, that primary relationship, we may not get all the rest of your business, but you'll at least talk to us about it.
Yeah, precisely, yes.
And then Aaron's doing a lot in terms of, one of the things I did actually just before he came and under Sheree Martin was bring branch banking, retail, which already includes SME, investments, wealth management, insurance, payments, bring them all together so that we come up with a very common needs-based way of building relationships rather than I'm selling you a credit card and I'm selling you a loan and I'm selling you this. So if we can anchor with the primary relationships, deal with the pain points there, and then take a much more relationship-focused approach to our sales, that's how we're going to build lasting relationships.